somewhat controversially perhaps, I was very, very generous to him in that general election in 2019. And some of you agreed with it, and some of you didn't agree with it. And that's what life's like. You have to make decisions as a leader and stand by them. I still believe that the idea of a Liberal Democrat, Jeremy Corbyn coalition and a second referendum would not have put the country in a good place. So maybe Rishi thought, given that I've been so nice to them, at the end of 2019, that I could be tempted to rejoin a party that has betrayed many of those Brexit promises. Maybe he thought I could be generous to a party that has seen legal, let alone illegal immigration reach record levels. Maybe he thought I could be generous to a party who've just put up corporation tax on our small businesses by 30% and refused to review the IR35 rules. Maybe he thought I could be generous to a party who locked us down 3 times, wholly unnecessarily, with a long-term health cost to this country that'll prove to be ruinous. Maybe he thought I was going to be generous to a party that has now become a social democrat party in all but name. Big state, high tax, control of every aspect of your life, virtually indistinguishable, frankly, from Starmer's Labour Party. Well, I've come today to give my answer. Very, very sweet of you, Prime Minister. But I'm really sorry. The answer is no. I am not. Solidly behind Richard Tice and Reform UK. Make no doubt. By the way, you may not know this, but I'm not a big fan of the British banks. What a campaign that's been, and it's barely started. But what you may not know is that Metro Bank are now in real trouble. Their share price is down 99% from the peak, and they're in desperate trouble. And I should, of course, be generous of heart and say that I'm sorry for the travails of Metro Bank. Do you know Metro Bank gave notice on the Brexit party's bank accounts, foreclosed on us, told us immediately they would not do business for our party, put us into the most precarious position 2 years ago. So I'm sorry, Metro Bank, what goes around comes around. Maybe that'll teach them. Political debanking is not a very good idea, particularly when still a majority of this country actually are good, common sense people. Now, look, if I'm good at one thing, I'm not good at very many, but if I'm good at one thing, I'm good at spotting gaps in the market. And right now, there is the most almighty gap in the UK political market. It's enormous. This party has been bubbling away quietly, just under the radar. It feels to me a little bit like UKIP was back in 2012, 2013. Not being talked about much, but quietly, slowly, solidly, organically growing in support, candidates and the calibre of people that want to stand for it. And so actually for us to be already at 8% in the polls, and with the rather excellent, genuine and sincere Howard Cox leading our campaign in London. What a great job he's doing. We're actually making good, solid, steady progress. But we're about, as a party, to enter into new space because of what was not said at that Conservative Party conference and what will not be said by Sir Keir Starmer at the Labour conference in Liverpool this week. For one, you'll have noticed that we put Brexit back onto the logo. We lent Brexit to Boris Johnson and an 80-seat majority. And they've had ownership of Brexit for all this time. And whilst we may stand taller in the world as a result of Brexit, and by goodness we do, whether it's the AUKUS deal or leadership, whether you agree or not with it in Ukraine, domestically, the reason we won the vote, the reason the turnout was higher than the pundits expected, was because people wanted us to take back control of our borders. And we haven't done that, have we? We haven't done that. Anybody working in small business assumed and believed that with Brexit we'd find ourselves without the same regulatory burden. And in fact, they barely got rid of any rules at all, and indeed our own enforcement authorities in many cases are still making life virtually impossible for men and women trying to run their own businesses. They have not delivered on what people's realistic expectations of Brexit were. Now, despite that, our GDP is growing more quickly than France's or Germany's. Even the Governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey, or as he's better known, Andrew Out to Lunch Bailey. Not that I'm against the long lunch, believe me, but because he's like McCafferty. Whenever there's a crisis, he's not there, he's out to lunch. Even he says our financial services sector is better with Brexit. The opportunities that were offered to us have not been taken. So let's be clear. The Conservative Party is no longer in any way, shape or form the Brexit Party. We in Reform are taking back the word Brexit, and we will champion it and the benefits that it can bring to people in this country. It's our